here we have just like we just went over the ratings for Eagle Pass Waterworks, these are the ratings for the city of Eagle Pass. Starting on the left, currently the city has a AA stable rating from Fitch Ratings. These are the three major rating agencies. In the middle, you have an A1 from Moody's, and on the far right, you have a AA minus stable from Standard & Poor's. So all of those are very, very high ratings. It's just a notch or two under AAA, so AAA is the highest that you can get. So generally in the past, historically, whenever you issue bonds, you have to buy bond insurance. Eagle Pass hasn't had to spend money on bond insurance because your ratings are so high that the investors we don't need them to have bond insurance. Their credit is good enough that we can just go ahead and buy their bonds with bond ratings. They don't need insurance on those bonds. So here, I'm not going to go through all of the strengths and considerations, but as you can imagine, it's just strong reserves, low debt burden, prudent budgetary practices, moderate fixed cost, consistent and solid financial performance, solid local economy and tax base overall, mid-range debt and pension liabilities. So this gives you all the positives of the city, and then on the bottom it gives you all the considerations. So very high ratings, congratulations. You all have held those ratings for quite a while now, so that's great. If you jump over to page number 5, here we have the existing debt of the city, what you call general obligation debt. So again, the second column from the left is the original amount that was issued, and then the columns right next to it, that's the principal that's outstanding right now. On the bottom of the page where you have those two sections that are highlighted in that kind of bluish aqua color, those are the bonds that we're looking to refinance here in the next couple of slides. So if you jump over to page number 7, here we have the bonds right now these are the tax exempt bonds that we're looking to refinance. So we have your tax refunding bond series 2011 and your tax refunding bond series 2010. You have about $6,045,000. The third column from the left where it says principal outstanding, that's the amount that we can finance, $6,045,000. If you jump over to the next page, starting at the top, if you look in the kind of the gray area, these are the tax refunding bonds series 2010. Here's the par amount of those bonds. It's $3,295,000. They're callable on 3/1/2020. If you jump to the second column from the right where you have your prior rates, these are currently the rates that you're obligated to pay. 3.11, 3.3, 3.39, 3.49. If you refinance this debt with today's rates, now you're going to pay the 0.63, 0.64, 0.65, all the way down. If you jump to the middle of the page in that next gray section there, now we have your tax refunding bond series 2011. There we have an amount of $2,750,000. If you jump over to the second column from the right, on that maturity you're paying a 3.7. You can refinance it today at a 0.93%.
Big difference, man.
Yes.
Big difference.
So if you jump over to the next page, on page number 9, what does all this mean? If you look at the fourth line down where we have net present value savings, by refunding this debt, you can save $437,619 in present value savings.
Now, is that before?
That's net of everything.
Net before the fees and everything?
Yeah, that's net. That's all in, everything included. So currently, I'm sorry?
If approved, when would the city see these savings? Right away?
As soon as we would lock in, so we would prepare, we'd get with bond counsel, we'd get underwriters, we'd have to get the rating agencies to do a review of the city. That would probably take about a month. And then we'd be able to price probably in about a month and a half. We'd be able to price, and at that point we can lock in rates. But given where the Federal Reserve is and where we've seen rates historically trending, we don't see rates moving a whole lot, and if anything, we see them going more down versus up.
Okay.
So it could potentially go lower.
Right, it could potentially go lower. On the same page, the percentage savings, as Mr. Rodriguez mentioned, generally, if it's 3% savings or better, generally we like to move forward. In this, right under that net present value savings in the middle of the page, the savings on this is 7.31. So it's way, way above the 3% savings. And then if you look at the third line from the bottom up, you're looking at a true interest cost of the refinancing of a 1.49%. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
And the only ones that are taken into account is 2010, 2011.
Correct.
2012 would not qualify.
No, the only ones right now that we have in this presentation are the ones that are actually refundable that can save you something.
Okay.
So on the next page, I'm going to skip the next page. It just kind of has a breakdown of the principal payments, the prior debt service, the refunding debt service, and then the savings that we just talked about. So if you jump over to page number 11, now we have a new set of bonds or a different set of bonds that we can also refund on a taxable basis for savings as well. So if you jump to page number 12, we have your tax refunding bond series 2012. We have your combination tax and limited pledge revenue seal series 2012, and we have your combination tax and limited pledge revenue certificates of obligation series 2013. We have the third column from the left, the principal refunded, we're looking at $8,680,000. If you jump over to the next page, at the top of the page where it says combination tax and limited pledge revenue COs, those 2012 COs, we can refund $2,135,000. And if you jump over to the two columns on the far right, currently you're paying a 3.48% on those bonds, and we can refinance them at 0.83, 0.87, 0.92, so on and so forth. In the middle of the page, now we have your tax refunding bond series 2012, and we have $1,420,000 of those bonds. If you jump over to the far right, we're looking at 2.45%, 2.55%, and you can refinance those for 0.83 and 0.87. The last bonds of these taxable bonds is the combination tax and limited pledge revenue COs 2013. That amount is $5,125,000. If you jump over to the right, we're replacing those 3.5% and 4% with 0.87, 0.92, 1.02%. What does that mean in a dollar amount? On the next page, the third or fourth line item, we have a net present value savings of $654,545. So all in all, by taking advantage of interest rates, you can save up to $1.1 million in savings. If you look at the third line from the bottom up, there we have the true interest cost of refinancing this piece. The true interest cost is a 1.498.
What sets what rate that they can offer?
So on the page where we have these scales, or where we have the ratings for the City of Eagle Pass, we go out in the market and we see what other cities similar to Eagle Pass have the same type of ratings, and how did their bonds sell that day. So we go in the morning, bonds are selling every day, so we'll go and grab a scale from earlier in the morning, city comparable to Eagle Pass with the same ratings, and we'll grab those rates and we'll drop them into this, and it's pretty similar.
So now on the second one, you are throwing 2012, 2013.
Right.
Why are you separating them?
Because they have different call dates.
Okay.
They have different call dates. Some of them are not callable until 2022, so if you're going to advance refund those, it's a different group of bonds, and those are now taxable bonds versus the tax exempt bonds that we were talking about since November, December, January, February timeframe. So that's why they just have different call dates. One has a call date of 3/1/2020, and the other one has a call date of 3/1/2022.
So early next year.
Right. So if we jump over to page number 16.
I'm sorry, on the net present value savings, so there's that differential. On the 10-11 bonds, it was going to be savings of
For over 400.
437,
Yeah, this,
413,
437, 619.
yeah, 654, and that's where you're coming up with a $1 million.
Yeah, and then the other one is 654, 545.
So it's, together it's $1.1 million.
Yeah, and that's net. Gross savings will actually be a little bit higher, but that's just net present value, which takes into account the value of a dollar in today's market versus in 6 months, 12 months, and 2 years from today. So with that,
And that would be, once again, after all the fees are paid.
that's all net of everything, all costs associated with the financing, correct? If you jump to page number 16, here we have a timetable of events. So if you start at the top today, should council decide to move forward and approve these parameters, as you all probably remember, we'll work with your bond counsel, the Attorney General's office, the rating agency, so on and so forth. We'll have calls October 5th or 9th to have meetings with the rating agencies. We'll price the bonds right around October 28th, and we'll close on December the 3rd. So with that,
That would be for the 10, 11 ones.
that would be for all the bonds,
For all of them.
for all the bonds. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, Mr. Gonzalez, this seems pretty much like a no-brainer. If the city were to take advantage of this, the city's gonna save over $1.1 million. I think we need to take advantage that the interest rates are low right now.
Right.
So, with that said, I'll make a motion to,
Motion made by Councilman Salinas, second by Councilman Villalpando. Any other questions for Mr. Gonzalez?
I would just like to thank you for we've had a long-standing relationship working with Mr. Gonzalez, and I thank you for bringing this forward and working with staff to identify an opportunity to capitalize on the low interest rates at the time. So on behalf of the city, we thank you for what you do and look forward to it.
No, thank you all very much. I appreciate that. And we'll go out there and try to get the best deal that we can for the city.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dave. So there is a motion by Councilman Salinas, second by Councilman Villalpando. No further questions. We'll take it to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Going on to item 3, second reading of an ordinance amending the 2019-2020 budget adopted by ordinance number 2019-15 to adjust citywide revenues and appropriations to fund current year commitments, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
Mayor, I don't know if we can do this, but I was looking at the budget, and I apologize for maybe not doing my homework last time, but I have a lot of questions. Can we, is it just?
Move this
just
to-
gonna- Are you
questions
gonna have
regarding-
another budget?
This is for the current budget.
Yes, it's
Not for
amendment
next year's budget.
to this
Okay,
year's budget.
for the current one, okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
this
so
one.
on the, yeah, we can have a meeting before then, but right now we have meetings scheduled for the 1st, the 8th, and the
Okay,
15th to discuss the
good.
budget.
Okay.
Yes.
And you will be sending us an updated budget, or is it the same one as last?
No, it's the same one, so
Okay.
each time we read the ordinance, if there are changes, we'll present those
Okay,
changes.
so there were not any made to this last one that you gave us? This is
Correct.
the last one?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, so for this item, it is the second reading, and it's basically the changes regarding the revenues, where we had mentioned that because the bridge system has been closed for longer than anticipated, we're reducing those revenues, and sales tax and ambulance service are overperforming our estimates. So basically, we're just adjusting our budget to
Adjusting,
reflect
okay.
what we expect to
The
happen. through
current
the
one
end of
has got nothing to do with the new one?
Correct.
Okay.
So
And,
the-
I don't know, did I see Omero here? No. I don't say if you saw
He was here.
the bridge report, but, I mean, it was lower this weekend than it had with the new operations that the CBP has to do. And
Correct.
it went down like almost 30%.
Correct.
I met with Paul Derrico, and so are we taking that into account even for this month?
Yes, and so for the third reading, we'll be keeping an eye out. We do only have a week's worth of information. The issue with, projecting now is we're not sure how long that operation will continue. So it may just be a couple of weeks and then go away. We really don't know, but by the time we do the third reading, we'll have more information.
Paul made it very clear that it's going to go on, you know, it's not going to stop until they lift the restrictions, which is not a good thing, but,
Yes.
you know.
Well, back to your presentation.
Yeah, so there are no changes. This is the second reading, so the recommendation is
Yep.
to approve the second reading.
Is there a motion?
The recommendation is to approve it, okay, so moved.
Motion made by Councilman Ramon. Second by Councilman Villalpando. Any other questions for Jesse? Nope. All right, we'll take it to vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Moving on to resolutions, item number 4, consideration and possible approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Eagle Pass, Texas, authorizing the submission of a Texas Community Development Block Grant Program application to the Texas Department of Agriculture for the Main Street Program Fund, and authorizing City Manager and Finance Director to act as the city's authorized representatives in all matters pertaining to the city's participation in the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program. Jess?
Mayor, Council, this application will request $500,000 in grant funds for the reconstruction of sidewalks from Monroe Street to Commercial Street on Main Street. There is a requirement for a match, and in order to get the maximum amount of points, it's 15%, so we would have to match $75,000. So the total project cost is $575,000. And so part of this project does include, of course, improvements to the sidewalks, installation of ADA ramps, bulb outs, bump outs, which I'm sure several of you have seen I think it was from UTSA, that master plan that included several of those concepts. So that's basically the idea that's being proposed here. So the recommendation is to approve the resolution authorizing us to submit this application.
How what's the breakdown on how we would pay for it? You said 500, is it
500 in
grant?
grant funds and 75,000 in city funds.
Okay.
That 75,000, is it cash or in kind?
It can be in
Combination.
kind, we typically do not do in kind, but it is an option. We do have the funding set aside. With this current year's budget, we had set aside $100,000 for sidewalk improvements, so the idea is to use those funds.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Salinas, second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. Any other questions for Jesse? If not, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Moving on to item number 6, consideration possible approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Eagle Pass, Texas, authorizing the submission of a Texas Community Development Block Grant Program application to the Texas Department of Agriculture for the FAST Fire Ambulance and Service Truck Fund Grant Program, and authorizing the city manager to act as the city's executive officer and authorized representative in all matters pertaining to the city's participation in the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program. Jess?
Yes, Mayor, so the request here is to submit a grant application for $140,774. In this case, the match is not a percentage, it's a fixed amount of $5,000. So the total is $145,774. So $5,000 from city funds and $140,774 from grant funds. I do have to make a comment on this because I did mention how with TDA rules, there are beneficiary requirements where it's HUD money, where they want the population to be 51% or more of low to moderate income. I had mentioned that the city, as of, I believe, maybe about 8 years ago, we were at 49% low to moderate income. We're no longer considered a low to moderate community. So it really disqualified us from a lot of HUD-related grants. So the way around that is to identify service areas, primary service areas. And so what we had to do with this grant is divide amongst the 3 stations and determine which station would qualify. The one that was closest to qualifying was Station 1. It did exceed the amount of low to moderate income. However, I do want to hand out this map, because in order to qualify, we do have to amend the current service area
For the fire station.
for the fire station, correct? So the area in yellow is the current service area for fire station number 1, the central fire station. TDA, it has very technical rules on determining population and beneficiaries. So they follow census tracts. And so the 2 areas that are highlighted have to be changed in order to meet the requirements. So the area on the northern side that's circled is the area on Hidalgo Street. So that area would have to be added to the Station 1 response area. And the area on the bottom, which is the King Arthur area and the Industrial Boulevard area, that needs to be removed and added to Station 3. That we tried several different options to see how we could get to qualify, and this was the only one that was viable. The rest did not meet the requirements from TDA. So it is going to be difficult because this is a very competitive grant, but we want to make sure that we don't try, there's no chance at all.
Right.
So we want to try. But if just with that understanding, and we did talk to the fire chief about this, to see if he had any concerns with amending his primary service area map. Now, it's primary service area. It doesn't mean that ambulance, if it's awarded, stops at the line. If there's an emergency, it's going to respond.
Good.
But its primary area is
The service.
that area. So I just wanted to point that out because it will require some changes to that.
And
But
who will make those changes? Is that something that
That's
you all
something
do administratively?
Yes, correct,
Chief? Okay.
correct.
So exactly what would this, if the city were to get this grant, hopefully, what does it provide? Is it a fire truck?
I apologize.
Just
Should have
so
mentioned
that-
that. This is, yes, this is for an ambulance.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Just so that the people can understand what we're trying to do.
I'm sorry, and this is a very important point. Yes, it's for an ambulance, so the total cost of the ambulance is $145,000. In talking to the chief, there has been a huge increase in costs for ambulance. In previous years, we would budget 90, 95, maybe 100,000 for an ambulance. I'm not sure if it's because of COVID, or I'm not sure exactly why, but the cost has gone
Probably
up significantly.
technology they're using now.
And so, we want to make sure that we tap into grant funding if we can.
I mean, if granted that, it would be a huge savings to the city, so
Yes.
it's a no-brainer to try.
Yeah,
And what's the match?
$5,000.
You're gonna get a new
No-brainer.
ambulance for $5,000 from us?
I'll steal your word.
So moved.
No brainer. Motion made by Councilman Salinas, second by Councilwoman Ramon. Any further questions for Jesse? If none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. I skipped number 5, right? Why didn't you tell me that? Okay, going back to number 5, consideration and possible approval of a resolution of the City Council of the Cities of Eagle Pass, Texas, determining that sidewalks located in the downtown area of Main Street contains conditions which are detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community and constitutes a blighted area. That sounds bad.
It does, yes.
And I know it's part of the previous, the number 4, but,
Yes.
okay.
And so, yes, this does relate to the grant application for the Main Street sidewalks. In order for us to qualify, the council has to deem that a blighted area. So the recommendation is to approve.
In order to qualify, what you see, I'm sorry.
For the other grant, number 4, the grant for the
We
sidewalks.
have to declare it as a blighted area. So moved.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, second by Councilman Villalpando. Any further questions? If none being, we'll take it to vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Now getting back to order, moving on to number 7. Consideration and possible approval of a resolution authorizing the use of competitive seal proposals for construction services for Big and Misty Willow storm drainage improvements. That can be you or Vanessa?
Me, if you have any other questions, Vanessa can
Okay.
answer them.
All right.
But the next 4 items all have to do with using competitive seal proposals. So just to recap, I know you all are
Okay.
very familiar with this, but in order to go out for bids where we want to take other items besides price into consideration, council has to approve that. If we were going out solely on price, technically the city could just go out for bids and the lowest price would get it. But with construction projects, we really want to take other things into consideration. So this resolution authorizes us to write proposals based on price, qualifications, references, and timeline. So once we get the proposals, they're reviewed by a committee. If interviews are required by the committee, then interviews are held, and then the recommendation is made based on that. So the recommendation is to approve so that we can proceed with the bidding for these projects in
And
this
these are
case.
some of the ones that were presented last week on the
Yes.
drainage master plan, right?
Correct. The
The
first
three
three-
that were
Yes,
ready to go?
correct.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Dave.
Motion is made by consent, if everyone's in agreement,
Can we
you
do
can
all
make
of
all four,
I was gonna ask you that, but
take action on all four.
All right,
Second. Oh,
so there's,
I think he has to read,
oh, okay,
into
okay.
record.
I'm also looking to take item number 7, 8,
We wanted to hear Jesse do the same thing for
8, 9, 10?
Eight, 7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, so item number 7 already read. Moving, item number 8, consideration and possible approval of a resolution authorizing the use of competitive sealed proposals for construction services for DeBona Drive storm drainage improvements. Item number 9, consideration and possible approval of a resolution authorizing the use of competitive sealed proposals for construction services for Rancho Escondido storm drainage improvements. And item number 10, consideration and possible approval of a resolution authorizing the use of competitive sealed proposals for International Bridge System 1 handrail improvements. So all these are basically the same, you're requesting the same thing.
Correct.
So motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, second by Councilwoman Ramon. Any further questions for Jesse?
I just want to thank y'all again for what you are doing, because I know we had them ready, and they already been identified, and that we're pushing forward to it. I think it's very important, Vanessa, thank y'all. Because I know a lot of the residents had expressed a lot of concerns. I know Councilman Ramon and I had been contacted with even some people from DeBona, and they had met with us. And I'm really happy to see this going forward, so thank you for what y'all do.
Thank you.
Amidst all the
Yes.
pandemic stuff that's going on, so, thank you.
So no further questions. We'll take it to vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. So 7, 8, 9, and 10 approved. Moving on to item number 11, consideration and possible approval of a resolution of the City of Eagle Pass, Texas, of a local disaster declaration due to a public health emergency regarding international bridge fees. And I'd like to take this item into executive session. Got some questions for you, Eddie. Motion to table for executive session by Councilwoman Ramon.
Second.
Second by Councilman Salinas. All those in favor? Unanimous. Moving on to item number 12. Somebody forgot to call the DA, so I spoke to him today. We'll put his item on the agenda for next week, for the 4th. That's the day we had originally discussed, but since we had to have this meeting, they didn't call him.
Somebody forgot, so is it one of those, another one of those where somebody dropped the ball? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
He's cool with it. He said, I'm not ready, I'll do it.
I'll move to
It's a pandemic.
Table, motion to table by Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Second.
Second by Councilman Salinas. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Moving on to item 13, discussion and possible action on agreement between the City of Eagle Pass and Eagle Pass Waterworks System related to feed distribution, allocations, reimbursements, and services to be provided by the parties in order to comply with city ordinances and charter provisions. And I think we're going to take this one to executive session also. All right? Motion to table the executive session?
Just on the record, because you have legal questions, and it's going to be under 55107.
Yes. So motion to, is there a motion to table for executive? Motion by Councilman Villalpando. All right, so we'll just have a discussion out here.
If there's no second, it dies.
Yeah.
Lack of a second.
No second to take it to
I
executive
mean, does
session?
someone have legal questions, or?
Yes.
That's fine, I'll second it.
All right, second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. So, under Chapter 551.071, we're going to take items number 11, consideration and possible approval of a resolution of the City of Eagle Pass, Texas, of a local disaster declaration due to a public health emergency regarding international bridge fees. And item 13, under Chapter 551.071, consultation with attorneys on the discussion possible action on agreement between the City of Eagle Pass and Eagle Pass Waterworks System related to fee distribution allocations, reimbursements, and services to be provided by parties in order to comply with city ordinances and charter provisions. All right, so let the record reflect, council went to executive session at 6:29 PM on August 25th, 2020. All right, we're ready. Let the record reflect that the city council came out of executive session at 7:31 PM on August 25th, 2020. Moving on to item number 11. I'm sorry. Yes, number 11. Number 11. Consideration and possible approval of a resolution in the City of Eagle Pass, Texas, of a local disaster declaration due to a public health emergency regarding international bridge fees. And this item was put on the agenda after discussions with CBP Port Director Paul de Rincon and in further discussions today with the Presidente Municipal Claudio Bres. The operations at the bridge right now are from the government, and this is coming down from Washington. Soon-to-be Secretary of Homeland Security Wolf. They're putting more restrictions even on American citizens coming back. They really want to restrict the flow of traffic into Mexico from our U.S. citizens. But we've seen, even through this pandemic, U.S. citizens continue to cross. And while the numbers are not where we normally see them because the Mexican nationals are not crossing, they're still seeing that there's a lot of people, and there's a big fear that there's a lot of, I guess, contamination from back and forth. And so that's why they're putting restrictions on, and the restrictions basically say, if you're over there, go to Mexico for non-essential things. And you know, it was expressed by Councilwoman Ramon on one occasion she went, I mean, going to the veterinarian, they don't consider essential, you're going to be going through the non-essential lane. And that's where traffic is going to start backing up. And in discussions with Claudio Bres, you know, his concern is the lines are going to get so far backed up that it's going to cause, you know, traffic jam in my community. And we saw what happened that one time that weekend that they decided to do testing everybody on the way over there. So there's a big push, and I guess I'm from the government side over here, and the concern of Claudio Bres, and I can see his concern if traffic is backed up. They're really asking for citizens not to go over there if it's not essential. We know there's people that work, whether they live over there and work over here or live here and work over there. So, you know, what else can be done and looking at the things that we can do. We were looking at possibly raising the fees at the bridge for everybody crossing, because in the studies that Paul did and the CBP agents are doing, over 85% of the people are going for non-essential. There really is no reason. They're going to eat at restaurants, and I think that's something that's hurting our restaurants over here, our businesses. And so just the thought of raising the fee to hopefully discourage some more people from going. I don't think raising it to $5 is going to discourage people, but it's a start, and it's something that we can look at. So that is what was being discussed, that the tolls to be collected by the city for all southbound traffic crossing the international bridges shall be as follows. Automobiles or pickups, including 3/4 ton, is $5, and pedestrian rate $1. And this would go on as long as the restrictions are in effect from the government to try to keep, you know, people from going into Mexico for non-essential reasons. So that's a discussion that I had this morning with Paul de Rincon, Claudio Bres, and Paul is asking for help also because they're still seeing traffic flow. It did go down this weekend, and according to the numbers, they did drop by over 20%. but they still saw a lot of vehicles crossing. So that is what's on the table. If anybody would like to make a motion on it.
Mayor, just before the
Oh, go
motion,
ahead.
let me just clear it for the record. This is a city council declaration of a local state disaster due to a public health emergency. The action that the council is being asked to consider is being done because in the view expressed from the federal government, from the port director, and what the information that you just relayed, this is aimed at preserving the public peace, the health, the safety, and the welfare of the citizens. That is the reason why you are now considering this declaration. I just wanted to make clear that it was based on the health and safety and the welfare of the citizens.
No, it is, and that's one of the other comments that Claudia Bress mentioned. While we are not seeing it on the contact tracing where people are saying they got it in Mexico, they're seeing a different story over there. He says, yeah, they're saying that family came to visit and they got it. You know, so was it ours going over there that gave it to them or vice versa? It's hard to say. The contact tracing here has not led to a big or any substantial number of that situation going on. But in Claudia Bress's statement, it seems that's what they're hearing, so, yeah.
And the other thing, Section 8 calls for when this is to take effect. I know that in executive session, you had a legal question with respect to whether it could take effect immediately, or we could do it and give an opportunity to the bridge director to change. So that's also something that needs to be addressed as to when the council, as part of the motion, when you want it to take effect.
Yeah, let's see if we can talk to the director tomorrow or later on today, see how fast they can turn that around and maybe start on Friday at midnight.
So that would be your motion, Mrs.
Yes,
Ramon.
I mean, in just for everyone's benefit and in the efforts of helping everyone else, you know, CDP and everyone else that's interested in keeping our citizens safe, that is my motion, Mr. Juarez.
Friday at midnight.
I mean, as soon as, I don't know how much time they need to make these effective, but as soon as possible, I guess.
As soon as possible? Okay, if it's,
Or as soon as possible.
I know that,
I mean, I don't know how long that transition.
I know Homer said that whenever it starts at midnight, that's the way it's gotta be, so will they be able to do it from here to midnight? We don't know, it could be tomorrow.
I guess it's up to whenever they're able to do it.
I had worded it as immediate,
Okay.
Correct?
so you.
It can't be, like, it can't be right now, because they can't
Well,
set it
until
up.
until it's actually can be programmed in place.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, I guess, you know, as soon as possible. Okay.
But immediately upon the
Oh,
The
you have
programming
it
of
right
the-
in the
upon the bridge.
Okay.
maybe-
Operating system.
Yep.
Operating
Okay.
system.
Okay. So we have, I think there's, is that your motion?
Do we have a second?
So motion by Councilwoman Ramon.
Even though, I'll just share a comment and then even though I'm never really in favor of raising rates, and I've said that is explicitly, especially the tolls of the bridge, I mean, I know it is a user fee, I do appreciate the efforts of what we're trying to do to try to curtail and contain this further spread of COVID-19. And with that, we have to accept responsibility and make the tough decisions, that, you know, even though we don't agree with them at times, but with that in mind, I will second the motion.
So there's a second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, this is not something we want to do. This is something that I started discussing last week, and it was really hard to pull the trigger because we know there's people that do go for essential reasons, but, you know, in discussions with Paul today, it turns out the vast majority of the people are going for non-essential reasons, you know, and that's what Claudio's, you know, Claudio went so far as to say, I don't think $5 is going to stop anybody, and I think, I agree with that, but we got to start somewhere, you know, and we're not going to put it up at $20, you know, and hurt those 15% that are going for work-related purposes. And that's what makes it hard, but it is something that both from CBP, the government really, and the Presidenta Municipal, and it's something we need to consider. So I appreciate y'all, taking it into consideration.
You know, I'd like to just also share, I mean, I know, like I told you, it was very difficult for me to make the decision to go forward with it because I know there's a lot of people that are on fixed incomes that sometimes go for essential things, whether it be if they buy groceries or see a doctor, or whatever the case may be that is important for them to survive, and we respect it, but at the same time, if we can save one person's life or multiple lives, there's no price on that.
Yep. Very well said.
Will we be able to look at this and after we go through this thing that's happened here in our community?
Yes, and that's why,
I think, that we need to come back and
oh yeah, this will go,
Emergency.
this will go so long as, I have to believe, until the restriction. Once the government says, you know what, forget the restrictions, that's when we can,
Well,
We can rescind and recheck.
yeah.
you're doing it under a declaration of local state of disaster, so that's also temporary. When you all took action to declare a local state of disaster, that was made clear that it was only temporary and until this pandemic was over.
Yeah.
When you all declare that there's no local state of disaster anymore, this action will also go away.
Or it doesn't even have to go that long, it could be until
We
the
can change
government,
it
because the
short.
government might lift the restrictions before the governor says, no more disaster
And we
declaration.
place it as an item again for y'all's consideration, and then you can revoke it or modify it as you see fit.
Whatever's in the best interest of the community.
Yes. All right, so there's a motion and second, question?
Yes.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Ramon, second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. Any further discussion? Now we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. All right, moving on to item number 13, discussion of possible action and agreement between the City of Eagle Pass and Eagle Pass Waterworks Systems related to fee distribution allocations, reimbursements, and services to be provided by the parties in order to comply with city ordinances and charter provisions. I have had discussions with Jorge Barrera, Waterworks. They've been brought up at the Waterworks meeting, and they agreed at that point at the Waterworks meeting, the board, to allow Jorge Barrera to go into negotiations. And I think, our city manager should be the one continuing the negotiations. We've already got some headway on what we can look at, and he's amenable to it. So, and George is familiar with it, so I would, entertain a motion to allow the city manager to continue the negotiations with Waterworks Director Jorge Barrera.
Second.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, second by Councilman Villalpando. Any further discussion? I forgot the D. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Ramon, second by
Second.
Councilman Salinas. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. The meeting adjourned at 7:43 PM on August 25th, 2020.